got back home and opened the files, I was like, what the fuck? Honestly, I was shocked. It wasn't what I was expecting. If I'd only known that was what was gonna happen, I don't think I would have done it in the first place. Why isn't anyone else talking about this? Hey guys, if you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Justin. I make videos about photography, filmmaking, travel, and gear. So if you're into those kinds of things, then please do consider subscribing, as it's the easiest way to support this channel. In this video, we're checking out filters from Freewell for the DJI Action 2, in particular the standard day 4-pack, which contains the ND8, ND16, ND32, and CPL filters, as well as the ND1000. We'll take a look at some sample photos and videos from using these filters. We'll talk about what's good about them, why you should get them, but more importantly, why I think you shouldn't. So if you are a little bit pressed for time, you can check the timestamps down below so you can skip on to the different chapters of the video. Otherwise, if you have a little bit of time to burn, then stay with me, because I will take you thoroughly through this video as best as I can, because it's pretty juicy.
Now, as a video shooter, ND filters like these, or variable ND filters, are a must. Why? Because on bright sunny days, it's going to be quite impossible to follow the 180-degree rule without either cranking up your shutter speed or your camera's aperture, both of which will result in a less cinematic looking footage.
If this is the first time you're hearing it, basically the 180-degree rule states that the shutter speed should be set at double the frame rate. For instance, right now I am shooting this video at a frame rate of 24 frames per second, which means my shutter speed is set at 1/50th of a second. Now, to further illustrate what I'm trying to say, I'll just show you. Instead of talking about the 180-degree rule, the camera settings is going to be all blown out, I'm just going to show you. I am going to remove the magnetic VND filter system that I have attached on this lens right now, which incidentally was also sent by Freewell. So I also did a video on that. This is the magnetic variable ND set, which you can check out right here. So after that, if you still miss the point of having an ND filter, or a variable ND filter in this case, then I don't know what to tell you. In all seriousness though, if you shoot videos, get yourself an ND filter or a variable ND filter. It is absolutely 100% a must. I have ND filters for all of the cameras I use to shoot with. Now, some of you might already know this. I was recently selected to be part of the winners for the DJI Skypixel competition. But for those of you who don't know, then I guess now you do. Anyways, as a result of being selected, I ended up winning a DJI Action 2. Now, first things first, Freewell did send me these filters to test and try out, but they're not paying me to say anything. So as always, with all the other gear reviews that we've done so far on this channel, everything will be based off of my tests, experiments, and experiences, and most of all, will be my opinion only. Now, with that out of the way, let's go and check out the ND1000 and the standard day 4-pack filters for DJI Action 2. Alright, so right now I'm outside. It's a lovely sunny afternoon, and I'm gonna take the DJI Action 2 out for a spin to see if I can make some cinematic shots with it using some filters that our friends from Freewell gave us. Alright, so I'm here in Donau Island, which is an artificial island here in Vienna. I'm shooting at a 1/50th of a second shutter speed, everything is over bright, overexposed, and that is the main reason. That is what the Freewell filters are going to be for. So I'm going to get them out of my bag and let's see the difference, what the difference will be when we use filters like that. The reason I went to the river that day was because I wanted to test out the ND1000 and the CPL filters. The ND1000 is a really dark piece of glass you put in front of your lens to reduce the amount of light that comes into your camera sensor by as much as 10 f-stops. It makes your video super dark even though it's a bright sunny day. Now what that does is it gives you photos and time-lapse videos like this. This is a time-lapse without the ND1000 on. And this is with the ND1000 on. Pretty cool, right? Now what a CPL filter does is it eliminates glares and reflections from surfaces like bodies of water, cars on the streets, glass in the window. It also adds a little bit of contrast to your image. This particular CPL filter also has a little bit of ND in it, which means it also darkens the image by just a smidge. Now for photos, these filters work great. But the people who buy or get the DJI Action 2 don't really look to it or don't really get it because they're looking for a photography camera. So let's talk about these filters for use in video shooting. I was looking forward to getting the Action 2 for my street POV videos that I enjoy making for this channel. And actually went out, tested this out with the magnetic lanyard. I was really confused. I thought I did something wrong with the settings. I was so confused that I went out and shot a bunch more. And it was still the same. Now there's a very simple explanation for all of this, and this is the biggest reason why I think you shouldn't be getting an ND filter for the DJI Action 2 or any other action camera for that matter. The Action 2 uses rock steady and horizon balancing, which is a form of electronic image stabilization, which apparently depends and needs shutter speeds of at least 1/300th of a second and up in order to get best results, which means that if you use something to slow down the footage, slow down the shutter speed, something like, I don't know, say an ND filter, it all goes out the window and you end up with this, let's just say, artsy footage. So what does this all mean? Well, first of all, none of this is Freewell's fault. I love the design. It looks really nice and sleek. It's so seamless. It looks like a filter that DJI would have come up with if they came up with a filter for the Action 2. A lot of the times I completely forget I put on a filter on the camera. It's so seamless. It looks one and the same. Freewell also made it magnetic, so it's easy to apply, easy to install, and it magnets are strong enough. They won't fall off easily, which is great. And like all the other filters that Freewell makes, it's oil-proof, dust-proof, and scratch-resistant. So yes, these are actually really good products. However, if you did get the Action 2, then you're someone who probably needs it and wants to use it for things like biking, extreme sports like street POV sessions, or generally just walking around using it as a vlogging camera because you don't really want to be using a gimbal, which means the biggest consideration would be its stabilization. Unfortunately, the Action 2 becomes trash for those purposes if you put an ND filter on. Add to that the fact that you will probably 100% of the time use the new magnetic protective case that DJI sends out for free for all of the existing users of the Action 2, or if you're someone who's just buying the Action 2, it actually actually ships with it to solve the overheating issues the Action 2 has been plagued with. And with the protective case on, yes, the filter will stick with the magnet, but I highly recommend you to avoid that. It's dangerous, it will simply fall off, which makes the filters virtually useless at that point. Almost. That being said, if you ask me if you can use these filters to make videos and footages from the DJI Action 2 better and more cinematic, then you definitely can. I'm not saying you can't. You have to, however, understand the limitations that come with it. You'll have to use the Action 2 as more of a traditional mirrorless camera, which means for talking heads, static shots, maybe a little bit of panning, it's gonna be great. You won't have any problems at all. But I think it also defeats the purpose of getting an action camera for maybe 80% of you guys who get this.
So, what did you guys think? Honestly, I had no idea that's how rock steady and horizon balancing or the electronic image stabilization work prior to doing this video. So I hope you guys learned a little something too. When I first learned that I was gonna get the DJI Action 2, my first instinct was to look for an ND filter. I wanted to be able to control the shutter speed, slow it down to 1/50th of a second to be able to get a cinematic looking footage by following the 180-degree rule. Obviously, now I know that rock steady and the 180-degree rule don't quite get along that well. And although I was able to get some good footages with a shutter speed at 1/50th of a second, I'd say 90% of the time it was just really bad. So I'd rather not risk it. In conclusion, I think these filters are great. They're well made, but they're more of nice to haves. Again, you will have to make a little bit of compromise. The filters simply aren't designed with the protective case on. What I do is I keep the bottom half on the front screen module and then I remove the one on the lens, just so I'm gonna be able to stick the filters properly so that I'm not always scared that it might fall out or something, and still be able to somehow take advantage of the heat dissipation properties that the protective case was designed for. Who knows, maybe Freewell in the future will come up with an updated version of these filters, one that is designed with the protective case on in mind. However, if you must have the filters, then I suggest skipping a preset pack like the standard day 4 pack and going for individual filters instead. In my tests, I found that I rarely needed something higher than ND8 throughout the day. I actually needed something less like an ND4, so maybe get the ND4 and the ND8. I would also get the CPL filter just because you can get the benefits of added contrast in your image and it doesn't slow the shutter speed that much, so you'll still be able to take advantage of rock steady and horizon balance while using it on auto exposure settings. Of course, I would also definitely suggest getting the ND1000 filter because they're a lot of fun to shoot with. Photos and time-lapse using the ND1000 filters just look a little bit more professional. Plus, setting a time-lapse with the Action 2 is just so easy. By buying the ND filters individually, you'll be able to save a few bucks. Not a lot, but still. The ND1000 costs $19.99 and the standard day 4 pack is around $69.99. So you're looking at a total of $90. But if you buy the filters individually and each costs at $19.99, say the ND4, the ND8, the CPL, and the ND1000, then you're looking at a total of about $80. If you skip the ND4, then it's just around $60. Again, not a lot, but I thought I'd say it anyway. So that is it. That's gonna do it for this video. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comment section and I'll do my best to answer them for you. If you're interested in getting these filters and you understand what you're getting yourself into, then links will be down in the description box below too. These are affiliate links, which means I'll be able to make a little bit of money on the side to no additional cost to you whatsoever. It will, however, help me continue making videos just like this for you guys. My name is Justin, and if you like this video, please don't forget to hit that like button. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. And as always, thanks for watching.